Let's plug in the numbers now. What is capital A? 38 degrees. What's A? In this case, A is just A. There's no number. We don't know. That's what we're looking for, though. What's capital B? Lowercase b, 25. Capital C is 59. And we don't know what that is. It's blank, but we can just write B. So now we have to figure out, what are we looking for? We're looking for A. That means we have to use this fraction, because that's the fraction with our unknown. Now you have to decide which other fraction we can use. Because when it comes to sine law, we only use 2 fractions at a time. We don't use all 3 at once. So what's the next fraction that we're going to use? And the next fraction should have all the numbers given. Otherwise, if you have 2 unknowns, you can't solve it. So we can't use this one because this one has an unknown, a b. We know what that is. But we can use this fraction because it has all the numbers. It has 83 and 25. So now that we know which 2 fractions we're using, I'm going to rewrite it a little bit more neater. Like that. And we've come across a situation like this before when I have a fraction equals a fraction. Hopefully you remember from our previous lesson. Whenever you have a fraction equal to a fraction, what do? You always cross multiply. Just crisscross that. So it becomes 25 times sine 38. Now, don't be afraid. Sine 38 is just a number. It's a decimal. It's a really long decimal, but it's just really a number. So you can write the decimal if you want. The only problem with writing a decimal is it's a lot of decimal numbers, and I don't want to write that much. So I'm going to leave it as sine 38. But for you, if you're confused and you like writing numbers, you can write the decimal value of sine 38. That's fine too. Make sure you're not rounding to 1 or 2 decimal places. You should try to keep as many as you can. Realistically, in your calculator, you should be able to keep all of the decimal places if you know how to use your calculator properly. If not, just write the number out. All right, so we have 25 times sine 38. We have A times sine 83. At this point, once again, you can write the decimals. You can do the multiplication. I like to do the algebra first. A lot of students I know, I've actually talked to them, they don't like this. They like to do it, do the multiplication, and then do the next step, which is division. But I like to kind of do the algebra first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by sine 83. Why is that? Because whenever you're solving for an unknown, in this case our unknown is A, it has to be isolated. Isolated meaning it has to be all alone on one side of the equal sign. So now if I divide both sides by sine 83, this sine 83 just kind of cancels each other out. And now I'm left with A all by itself. So A is equal to whatever this comes out to. So now we have to do the actual math by plugging it into our calculators. Let's do that. What is 25 times sine 38 divided by sine 83? Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this in 1 step. I highly recommend doing this in 2 steps. Because a lot of students make a mistake in the calculator to try to punch it in 1 step, and they just can't do it. So I'll show you using the calculator here. Oh, wait. That's fine. There's a way to do it. That's fine. Let's go back. Where was it? Oops. Oh, it was this one, actually. So 25 sine 38. 25 sine 38. That's 15.391. So 25 times sine 38 is 15.391. Now we're going to divide it by sine 83. Sine 83, you can write that in your calculator if you just want to do sine 83. So I'm going to take the answer that I had previously. Your calculator should have an answer button too. So press the answer button. If not, then you have to type in the value 15.391 divided by sine 83. You get 15.5. That's the answer. The answer is 15.5 for side length A. Okay, we are going to move on because this is a long lesson today and I don't want to go over time like I did last time. So here we are doing the exact same thing, except we're finding the measure of the angle now, an unknown angle. So we have two sides and one angle. That's basically what we need to solve for the angle there using sine law. So let's do this again, sine A we know angle A is 67, so it's going to be sine 67 over 12. Because remember, lowercase a is the opposite of angle A, of capital A. Sine B, we don't have angle B, so automatically I'm just going to be like, that's not the case. We're not going to do this. We also don't have lowercase b either, so we know we're not going to use that one. Sine C, well, that's just theta. That's our unknown angle, kind of like our x value. And then we have 13, which is lowercase c. So now that we have our two fractions, automatically, what are you supposed to do? Crisscross. So let's do that. That's going to be 13 times sine 67, which equals 12 times sine theta. And here, I'm going to divide both sides by 12. Why 12? To cancel this 12 out. And now we're going to leave this side as sine theta for now. Normally want to isolate it, and we will. But you got to keep the angle with its trig function until the very last step. So sine theta is our kind of like unknown value that we're solving for. Now, what is 13 times sine 67 divided by 12? So 13 times sine 67, which is this, and divided by 12, which is at 0.997213592. Here, you should try to keep as many as you can. Let me see, 0.997. At the very least, 3. And we've done an example like this before, very, very beginning on day 1 or day 2, I forgot now. But this is very simple. If you forgot, that's okay. To find the angle, you have to now take the sine part over. When you take the sine part over, it becomes inverse sine. Or sine, -1. And your calculator has that function, sine -1. And you can just do sine -1 of answer if you don't want to type in or input all those numbers. If you don't know how to use your calculator, well, then you have to do the long way. So the answer is 85.7 degrees. Or if we're rounding to the nearest degree, we can just do 86 degrees. We can round up. That's the answer. Okay. So hopefully not too bad. Sine law is the easier one. And now we get to the cosine law. Cosine law There's three representations of the cosine law. So it's like the sine law where you have two ways of writing it, but they're all the same. It's kind of like that where cosine, you have three different ways of writing it, but they all really are the same in terms of the math. They're all very similar. They depend on the reference angle. That's important though, the reference angle. So the cosine law is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Or if your angle is b squared, then you just have a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cos b. Or if your angle is, let's say, c, then c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos c. The only thing you really need to know is whatever angle that you're given, cos a, cos b, or cos c. I'll show you with an example. Actually, it'll be a lot easier than just looking at that. Here, I'll show you with an example here. Okay, so we have angles A, B, C, and side lengths, A, B, C as well. In case you're wondering, this is lowercase a, this is lowercase b. So, what angle is given? Angle C is given. That means we're going to use the cosine formula that starts with C. C squared is equal to, and then the other two are going to be on the inside, a squared plus b squared minus 2 times a times b cos angle C. That's how you do the formula. You look for the angle given. So in cosine law, usually there's only going to be one angle given or no angles given. We're going to do that example as well. But for now, cosine law, usually only one angle is given. Now, sometimes sine law, only one angle is given as well. So you have to choose between the two. Sometimes you can use both, like you have a choice. You can use either sine law or cosine law. And if that's the case, always use sine law. It's just always easier. But unless if you really like cosine law, I guess. So let's plug in the numbers now. C squared is our unknown. That's why we wrote it like this, because that's the one we're looking for. It's already isolated. Now, A is 29, so that's going to be 29 squared. And B is 28, so that's going to be 28 squared. Minus 2 times 29 times 28 cos, and remember it's capital C, so it's going to be an angle is 52 degrees. This is just math now. What's 29 squared? It's 841. What's 28 squared? 784. And this, I'm going to do in one shot. 2 times 29 times 28 times cos 52. I'll show you that. So we have 2 times 29 times 28 times cos, what was it? 29, 28, cos 52. That's 999.8. Minus 999.8. So let's just add these numbers up. 841 plus 784 minus 999.8. You have 625.2. That's equal to C squared. A lot of students make this mistake. They say that that's the final answer. But if you're doing it correctly, you know that that's C squared and not C. C is going to equal to the square root of this number, which is, what is that? 625.2 square root. It's close to 25. It's basically 25. So we're going to say C is equal to 25. That is the final answer.